I'm Brad. I work as a therapist, and I wanted to do a video about addressing burnout. Um, I've had a lot of clients throughout the past who have had issues with burnout, and I've even struggled with it a little bit myself in the past. So I wanted to go ahead and do a video just to kind of give my own perspective on it and some maybe symptoms and tips to work through burnout because it is a serious issue. And when you're going through it, through burnout, it's very frustrating because you almost feel like you just want to give up on the job that you've studied for, or that you've worked through all the steps in order to get. And at that point, you're almost wondering, like, well, why did you go through so much in order to get this job that you've been idolizing all of your life? So I wanted to first discuss some of the symptoms. So the first symptom is exhaustion. Usually people start experiencing burnout kind of in increments, and you might start noticing that you're more tired, that you're coming home and you're just kind of falling asleep, or you don't have any energy to do the things that you normally enjoy. Like if you're involved in sports, you might just kind of turn down those invitations or turn down the invitations to go out with friends. You're finding yourself just feeling really tired and kind of sluggish. A lot of times it starts affecting like symptoms such as like not eating very well or eating too much, not cooking healthier meals, or not doing the things that are kind of the self-care aspects. So the exhaustion comes out in a variety of ways, but it's very noticeable, and especially when you get to the point of burnout, you just feel exhausted all the time. The second symptom is cynicism. So this is kind of when the person takes on a very negative attitude. So a common example I've heard was like with nurses. Sometimes after a while, if they've been like really working hard and working long shifts, they just become exhausted and tired, and they take on a negative approach, like, is what they're doing really matter? When of course it does. I mean, they're nurses and they're like the ones that are helping us when we go to the hospital. But it's when you're in that mindset, it's very challenging, and that can cross over to like any position. But that cynicism is very real, and it's important to pay attention to, because you don't want to have like a medical professional that is sarcastic all the time. You want to have someone that does love their job and takes it seriously. So it's important to recognize when you're starting to feel that symptom of burnout, that cynicism. Now the next one is inefficiency. So if a person is tired all the time, then they start making mistakes, or they might start missing deadlines. That inefficiency, it starts affecting the quality of their work, and that's when maybe other people start noticing that the person's starting to experience burnout, because not only are they becoming negative, it's affecting their quality of work. And that's when a person might start worrying about their job and possibly losing the job. So once you recognize those symptoms of burnout, from there you can start thinking about ways to address them. Now the first one is that self-care, because if you're not taking care of yourself, then it's hard for you to be able to take care of others in whatever kind of work that you do, because other people will notice. So that means the first thing is, if possible, maybe take a few days off, have some time to recharge. And I know that that's not always practical, because a lot of times people that are experiencing burnout, they feel like the whole weight of the world is on their shoulders to finish that job that they have. But it's so important to be able to take the day off. And even as Americans, that's one thing that we struggle with. Like, we just never take days off. But it does wear on the body, it wears on the mind. It's very important to maybe plan a vacation if possible, or plan to take a few days off. And then also practice those hobbies and those things that maybe you weren't doing before. So maybe that means going fishing. Maybe that means playing your video game, or getting outside a little bit, go for a hike, get in the sunshine, eat the salad instead of the fast food. Do the things that are important to you for your health. Because a lot of times when people are overworking, like I say, they tend to not eat very much or tend to gain weight. And that self-care aspect, it's something that you have to recharge and find those ways to practice that self-care in whatever way that's possible for you. And it is complicated if you have like a home life that's more complicated and everyone's depending on you, but it's really important to find those ways to practice self-care. Second is shifting your perspective. And that kind of hits out, as I was mentioning a little bit ago, that your job doesn't all fall on you. I mean, it's about recognizing maybe what was the purpose that you had that job in the first place, kind of what drew you to it, and that recognizing that it's okay to delegate. It's okay to say no. It's okay to kind of to look at getting back to the basics of how you find your purpose again. And with that nursing example, maybe focusing on like why you got into it in the first place in order to find your passion again, because it's so important, to find that passion once you've lost it for whatever your work is, because that's how you're able to work through these feelings of burnout. So it's important to shift your perspective, to refocus on what's important to you. And then the next one is kind of very hand in hand with this, is to address expectations. So that means if you've gotten to a place where you're answering calls all night long and it's hard to turn work off and shut off, that means that you're addressing those expectations at work. And it might mean that people have to wait till the next day, but not everything is a top priority. So it's important to be able to say no, to be able to address those expectations, leave work at work, be able to pull away and take care of yourself and prioritize yourself. The expectations are so key. The last one is seek out connections. So that might be talking to a coworker, talking to a friend, finding a mentor, finding a life coach, therapist. Connect with others. Recognize that you're not alone. A lot of people experience burnout at one time or another in their life, but that doesn't mean it's the end. It can also just be the beginning for coming out stronger. But seek those connections and find ways to connect with others in order to reevaluate what's important to you, because sometimes it is easier when you have another perspective. So these are some common tips for addressing burnout. I know that the list goes on and on. I think personally, for myself, working in a profession, since I'm a therapist, that it's really common for people to get to that point of burnout or almost burnout. And I found for myself that taking days off is so important. That way you can give 100% when you're working, but then also give 100% when you're spending time with your family, friends, or yourself. So make sure you're practicing some of those key self-care things like meditation. I hope that this video helps. And if you have any other ideas that you'd like to address from a mental health perspective that you think would be beneficial in a video, let me know. You're welcome to comment below, I hope this was helpful.